On.
All right. Late night from Willowdale. Talking to you just after midnight, I guess, on June 18th. Uh, and yeah, Clea and I were just watching a bit of Anthony Bourdain. God bless his soul. Anthony, why did you have to leave us so early? Oh, that was a great show, and he did a great job bringing the world to America, to Canadians, to many others. Uh, Culture, history, food, uh, just expanding people's knowledge of the planet Earth. And he did a great job. And yes, Anthony, why did you have to leave us so early? It's, yeah, depression, mental health issues. His death and Kate Spade's death in the same week obviously has risen awareness of this, has raised awareness of this very important issue. So, um, so that's a silver lining in the death of him and Kate Spade, that the issue of mental health has been raised. It's everyone's talking about it now. So terrible though, terrible. And I loved Anthony Bourdain, and Khalid and I loved his show. And Sunday night we lived for it. And we just watched the episode on Berlin and Cajun country in southern Louisiana. He was great. He was a master, and he educated a lot of people. So we're gonna miss you, Anthony. We're gonna miss that show. Um, Moving on to other things. We're going through a bit of a mini heat wave here in Toronto, and every time we go through this, I can't believe how people yank up their air conditioning. Okay, everyone talks about pipelines, oil extraction, all this other stuff, but no one ever talks about air conditioning as a contribution to climate change. Air conditioning is an incredible contribution to climate change. Destroys the ozone layer. Uh, it uh, it has puts massive pressure on the electricity grid. Uh, and why are there brownouts? Okay, Canada's the second coldest country in the world, and yet we have more brownouts in the summer than we do in the winter because of the stress on the electricity grid because of air conditioning. Why do people? I grew up without air conditioning. I'm sure many of you grew up without air conditioning. Why do we need to have all this air conditioning? If we only get a few short months of summer, like why does everyone have to go? Why do you have to go into a pub or a restaurant or into a subway car and put a sweater on because it's so cold when the temperature outside might be 35 degrees? It's crazy. This is just crazy. We over air condition, and we need to design buildings where people can open up windows. That includes office buildings, condos, public buildings, all sorts of buildings. You should be able to open up the windows and let the fresh air in, and have ceiling fans like they do in many parts of the developing third world. When I was in India, everyone had ceiling fans, and they seem to work. Air conditioning is crazy. Over air conditioning places where you have to put sweaters on and winter jackets is nutty. Think about it, and think what it does to the environment. We don't need it. Okay, stop with this over air conditioning, and don't use air conditioning unless you really have to. Okay, moving on. Yeah, from climate change to someone else who's destroying the air conditioning is not helping the world, but neither is Donald Trump. So let's move on to that quick. I don't want to dwell on Donald Trump. Um, he had his little love fest with Kim Jong Un in Singapore. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad he met with him. Jaw is better than war. Talking is better than going to war, and I'm glad he met with him. But nothing's going to come out of this. It was a narcissistic sort of photo op for Trump. He doesn't care when anything comes out of it. He just wanted up Obama and other former presidents who never did it. Uh, Real arms negotiation, like nuclear weapons negotiation, takes years. Uh, the Iran deal took years. Okay, Trump walked away from it, uh, and Iran actually stopped producing fissionable material, stopped with the nuclear weapons program. They stopped. They complied with the deal. The Americans violated the deal. They walked away from it. Uh, and so these things take time. You're not going to denuclearize North Korea. That'll take denuclearize North Korean peninsula, denuclearize North Korea. That'll take a lot of work and a lot of time, years. Okay, Trump's not into that. He's not into the details of it all. He just wants the photo op. Uh, and of course, I think Kim Jong Un knew that he walked away from the Iran deal. And he knows that Kim Jong Un knows that he can probably continue doing what he wants. Trump got what he wanted, a photo op, and nothing else will come from it. Uh, and he doesn't care. Trump doesn't care. Like he's not into. He doesn't care about anything. The fact that he, uh, the fact that he basically said, okay, we're going to stop military exercises with South Korea, not informing Japan or South Korea that he was going to do this. He didn't care about that either. He doesn't care what he does. Like if he blindsides his allies, uh, he doesn't care. Trump just doesn't care. He just plays it. He's just he's a bloody narcissist. And of course, I'm not telling you anything new, but he doesn't care. If he upends the world order, he doesn't care. So, okay, what happened in a week? He went to the G7, insulted everyone, of course, Canada and Trudeau and all that, and that's old news, and everyone knows it. Who is the benefit? Okay, who's the beneficiary from all this? China's a beneficiary. Russia's a beneficiary. Okay, and some people on the left will say that's good. And I would say it's true. The U.S. doesn't need to be the center of power. I've always said, it's time maybe to have other centers of power. But if you believe it, no question that after the Second World War, and I know a lot of lefties get all, they don't like that old elitist sort of language, rules-based international order and all that. But after the Second World War, after the chaos of the first part of the 20th century and the violence, there was a bit of stability. So the rules-based international order that the U.S. helped set up along with its allies, Canada included, and that was the United Nations, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, the Bretton Woods institutions, and then beginnings of the European, economic, I forget what it's, European, the precursor to the European Union, that brought a lot of European powers together. These were all good things. These were about stability and countries not going to war. And don't get me wrong, the United States is not. Of course, they had a lot of wars since Vietnam, wars in Central America. They killed a lot of people. I'm not apologizing for any of that. But the rules-based international order that the U.S. set up, that they benefited from too. They rebuilt Europe. They put a lot of money into rebuilding Japan and rebuilding Europe because they needed export markets. This was, what they call enlightened self-interest. It worked. It worked for everybody. It worked for Canada. It worked for Japan. It worked for Germany. It worked for Holland. It worked for a lot of countries. Anyways, it's all being upended now. And a lot of people think maybe that's a good thing. And that's true. I think the centers of power, sometimes the U.S. doesn't need to be the center of power. But this is, and so if out of this comes chaos and trade wars and economic chaos, this is not a good thing. Now, embarking on a trade war with China, embarking on a trade war with Canada, the European Union, Mexico, we don't even know where NAFTA is, insulting his allies, insulting Trudeau, we're living in a time of change, and where it's all going to go, who knows? But clearly, the U.S. is isolating itself, and this might be a good thing that Canada, the European Union, other countries start forming other alliances, and maybe China is definitely going to take advantage of this, and maybe that's a good thing. Russia, they're not China. They're a small player. But yeah, they're smiling too. So I don't know. I don't think it's a good thing that the rules-based system that included the World Trade Organization and all these things that set up rules and laws for international behavior, that's all being upended. I don't think that's a good thing. I know a lot of people on the left think, that's probably a great thing. Well, I don't think it's a good thing. And Trump is upending it, and we don't know where it's going to go. And Trump doesn't really care. He just doesn't care. That's the amazing thing. We have an American president that just plays for the moment. He just plays for the moment. And he had his little base that got him elected, and they don't know much about the world. They don't care much about the world, but they will suffer because a trade war will hurt a lot of American workers. And those people that supported Trump are going to suffer. And the world economy is integrated. If Trump starts putting tariffs on Canadian automobiles, well, Canada doesn't have an indigenous auto sector. It's integrated with the Americans. We have an integrated auto sector. You know, it's like I don't think Trump even gets it. He just doesn't. Again, he just doesn't care. And but this is dangerous. This ignorance is dangerous. A lot of Trump supporters like the fact that he's upending the system and telling everyone to go, insulting everyone and all that. But tariffs on automobiles from Canada doesn't make sense because Canada, U.S. auto industry is integrated. You know how many times parts cross the Ontario-Michigan border?
6 times.
6 times, yeah. Aluminum. It's Americans own Canadian aluminum smelters. Like, U.S. Steel owned the biggest smelters in Hamilton for years. They don't anymore. Um, but come on, everything is so integrated, and this is going to cause chaos, and a lot of people are going to get hurt. So, all I'm saying is to a lot of people on the left who like the fact that Trump is upending the rules-based system, well, people are going to get hurt, and this could end up into serious. We could see the world going into a serious economic crisis. It's going to hurt a lot of people. Um, and Trump just doesn't care because he just plays to his base, and he's a narcissist, and he likes the photo op, and he doesn't give a damn what he does. And he knows he's going to get away with it because the Republican Congress is supine. They don't do anything. They don't care. They're scared of him. They're so scared of him, they'll never confront him. So we're in a really critical situation. In terms of Canada insulting, you know, Trudeau, well, Trudeau's played the American card really well, the U.S. file really well. I'll give him credit for that. His dad played it well. He played it well. He's learned from his dad. You know that famous line about Nixon calling Pierre Trudeau an a-hole, an asshole. I guess you can say that on YouTube. And Trudeau, we don't know. There's some contention about what Trudeau actually said. Trudeau said basically,
Snopes said.
I've been called worse things by better people, but people said Trudeau said I've been called worse things by worse people. Anyway, Trudeau took it with calm demeanor, and he handled Reagan and Nixon really well. He handled Reagan and Nixon really well. And I remember him calling the people in the Pentagon pipsqueaks. He didn't care. Pierre Trudeau handled it well, and his son is doing not a bad job of this. You got to take the high road when you're dealing with guys like Nixon. And Nixon was an intelligent guy, okay? And Reagan, he wasn't that intelligent, but he had a lot of good people around him. But nothing like Trump. There's nothing like Trump. And Justin Trudeau, unfortunately, has had to deal with the most mercurial, weird, unstable, irrational president certainly in the modern era. So I think Trudeau's handled it well. Keep calm and carry on, and we'll see where it all goes. But yeah. Sorry, this video was only supposed to be less than 10. Now we're on 13 minutes. That moves on to the Ontario election. I think Doug Ford is Trump-like in his populism and his simplicity and all that, but I don't think he's not Trump-like in his hatred of immigrants, and a lot of the Ford coalition are immigrants. So, and
he has some good cabinet ministers too.
Yeah, and he's got some good cabinet ministers. I think he's got some real progressive conservatives around him. Caroline Mulroney, the daughter of Brian Mulroney, and Christine Elliott, who is the wife of the Jim Flaherty, the former federal finance minister who passed away a few years back. He's got some okay people around him. I don't think it's going to be as bad as on election night. I didn't feel totally depressed because I thought it was a good day for democracy in Ontario. The NDP became the official opposition. They never had that before. They won 40 seats. They even won here in Toronto St. Paul's, which is parts of it's Forest Hills, parts of Rosedale. They never won in this part of the city, and they won. So I don't think the result was bad. The Greens won a seat. The Liberals weren't eradicated. Kathleen Wynne still won her seat. So I thought the election night wasn't bad for democracy in Ontario. So I wasn't totally depressed, and we'll see where it goes. What always bothers me, though, is why people vote for change's sake. Oh, the camera went off again.
Shit. Oh no, it's going.
Oh, it's going. Yeah.
Sorry about that, everybody.
Sorry. Nope, it's going. So
yeah, just continue on, I guess.
Yeah, I'll just continue on.
Yeah,
sorry.
It
blacked out. But yeah, I don't know why people join.
If it blacks out again, just wave your finger at it.
I don't know why people vote for change just for change's sake without examining the policies of the party they're voting for. Okay? That's not a sane way to vote. You should actually look at the policies and vote on the policies. Ford didn't have many policies, and he ran a weird, bizarre campaign, didn't have a costed platform, but people voted for him anyways. The Liberal government ran on the record. I don't think the NDP had a platform, and it is what it is. But don't just vote change because you want change, okay? Look at the policies, because that's just voting for ignorance. So, yeah, I don't understand why people just, I'll say it again, because other elections are coming. Don't vote change just for change's sake. You got to look at the policies of the parties and vote, okay? And yeah, I'll end on the, now we're in 15 minutes.
I'll make it 20.
Yemen. This is a real crisis in Yemen, and the Saudis are going all out to defeat the Houthis. And no one talks about Yemen. 10,000 people dead, probably far more. Cholera epidemic unseen in recent time. Millions of displaced people. And this is supported by the United States, and it's crazy. And it's a humanitarian disaster, and nobody cares. And so when you see everyone condemn Iran for their behavior in the Middle East, you got to remember Yemen. Okay, yeah, Iran is involved in Yemen. They're supporting the Houthis, but the Saudis are largely responsible for the civilian deaths. They've been bombing crazy, and with the support of the United States. Trump doesn't care, and we're seeing we could have a crisis in Yemen unseen in recent time. And yeah, that's Saudi Arabia. That's our ally, Canada's ally, Americans' ally. Why doesn't people are paying attention? I think the U.S. Congress is finally looking at it and thinking, what are we doing? This is a classic thing of duplicity in foreign relations. Trump meets with Kim Jong-un, never questions human rights or any of that. No big deal. He backs away from the Iran deal because he hates Iranians and they're all vicious and nasty. And yet we have a situation with Yemen where, yes, the Iranians are involved somewhat, but where the Saudis are pounding and bombing and killing lots of civilians, and nobody cares. And more than 10,000 have already died, and nobody seems to care. The Saudis have carte blanche to do whatever they want. It's genocide, and nobody cares. And Saudis are a Canadian and American ally. We sold the Saudis weaponry. Yeah, it's pretty sad. It shows you as Chomsky says, whose ox is being gored. The duplicity in international affairs is going on in Yemen, and that's something to think about. And there's probably other things I want to talk about, but this went on now 18 minutes, and I'm sorry about that. Sorry we had the little blackout, but this is a good way to do it. We got a new camera, and yeah, 18 minutes, and that's it. And we'll talk to you later. Bye.